Ah, yes. So, in the wake of Musk telling the world that he cares more about the reality of goodness and not simply the perception of it, because people talk a good game and they're actually evil, leftists. Let's have a look at Bob Iger, the Disney CEO who was overseeing a hemorrhaging franchise and lies so brazenly, he may as well be a Democratic politician at this point, so we're going to just call out his absurd bullshittery. Nothing complicated here, folks. They're going to be a straight response style play here. Go.
So there's that. When it comes time to taking positions about issues.
Yeah, Bob, apparently you've yet to understand this. Just like the actors, we do not come to clueless dolts like you for political opinions. We watch you for entertainment, not to be preached at by a bunch of disconnected wankers who worship at the altar of ESG. So shut the fuck up.
I have tried really hard over the years, and I'm not calling them politics, because a lot of them are not politics.
Yeah, they're all politics. How stupid do you think people are?
Sometimes it's what is right and what is wrong.
And you're wrong about everything, both your politics and your business model. And the fact that you think they go hand in hand to the point where you're telling your investors you're committed to the former rather than the latter, and you intend to set their dough on fire to cover your ass legally because you're insane. This is already screaming pants on fire level of lies.
When it comes time to taking positions, I have tried really hard to apply a standard that is relevant to the...
Said it before and I'll say it again. The stuttering is caused by the bullshitting being just as hard to swallow as it is to cough up.
It asks, is this relevant to the company?
Wow, that is a claim so absurd, riddled with so many inconsistencies. We'd be here till Christmas if I went through all of them, so Dr. Cox laughing will suffice as my response.
To our people, to our company, to our shareholders.
From their own SEC filing, further consumers' perception of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ wildly and present risks to our reputation and brands. You can't play the ESG game and claim to care about the shareholders, Bob. They're mutually exclusive, especially when you're warning them about your social and environmental goals, whatever the hell that means, is presenting a risk to your reputation and brand.
That's a very important test. So if we take a position on the environment, we care about the health of our planet.
No, you don't.
It's because we believe that if the planet is not healthy, it will be bad for our business.
What the fuck does that even mean? You're an entertainment company. Apparently. I mean, not really. You're a soulless corporation pushing out plastic-ass propaganda wag. No one would even go to your crappy theme parks if your brand reeks of a stench like Lizzo's crack after walking up 5 steps. The air quality be damned. This level of stretch lying is borderline cringe.
People are not going to go to theme parks
if your brand is tainted and your products suck ass.
If they can't breathe the air, as a for instance. That's not politics, that's business.
Again, this is such ass. How would you even fix the air quality anyway? You're not even good at business, you mong. You're deliberately ruining the Disney brand. Like, if you actually cared about the environment, you would put your money where your mouth is and not just talk out of your ass.
So if anyone has accused us of being political when it comes to that...
Yeah, because environmental issues are in no way politicized these days. Bloody hell, this is how you know these people are utterly clueless about the world around them. Or at the very least, clueless about what the public actually knows and sees around them. This is what is interesting about this disconnection of the elites. It's not only that they live in a bubble, they may as well be living in the Truman Show at this point, but they also seem to be completely clueless of what those outside of the bubble can see. Because it seems the bubble is only a one-way system. Your bubble is a bubble. It's not an iron dome, dude. It's transparent. Like, we can see through your bullshit. So it's either drenched in arrogant elitism or they're ignorant idiots. Take your pick.
They're just dead wrong. I could argue the same thing. Interesting to listen to the vice president about immigration.
No one has ever said listening to Kamala Harris talk about anything is interesting. She can barely string a sentence together without cackling like a drunken hyena.
We have over 200,000 employees. We rely on a workforce that is talented, motivated, interested in working for our company.
Really? Try hiring them instead of activists, Bob.
The more diverse it is, the better off we are.
How? Those traits you just mentioned have nothing to do with diversity.
The more experienced and so a robust immigration policy is something that actually is pro-business.
Considering Kamala Harris has presided over an immigration crisis and you thought her words were interesting, so to speak, that just tells me you want cheap labor. Again, we're not stupid. We can see through the BS.
For us, as a for instance. There are times when there are subjects that maybe we should not comment on because they're not relevant.
All of them. Again, we do not care about your politics. Never have, never will. You provide escapism. Barely.
Unless they are of such importance to the world. For instance, I think commenting about terrorist acts is perfectly reasonable for the CEO of a large company.
Why? Do you honestly think people are sitting there watching your corporate sludge in the wake of a disaster and thinking, geez, I'm so curious about what the CEO of the company that made this animated movie thinks about current political affairs? Get real, it's nothing more than virtue signaling PR. Get this through your thick skull. No one cares about you or your damn politics until you start screwing with the product and feel the need to jam your politics down people's throats. And in such an event, an Elon Musk style of response is worthy of such irritation. Lord Musk, would you kindly?
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
Thank you, sir.
When, by the way, I think, it's interesting when you think about the world and who people listen to and what they expect of leaders. And I just think that there's a time and a place for companies to weigh in on issues, and it's actually something that I think CEOs get paid to do.
If you think your job as a CEO of an entertainment brand is to bore people to death by weighing in on political affairs, that does explain why your company is bleeding itself to death. You want to weigh in on political affairs, step down from Disney and get a gig at the New York Times. Your particular brand of BS would fly well there anyway.
I just come back to one thing regarding Governor DeSantis in Florida. The position that we took with Governor DeSantis in Florida was simply this. The company, while I was gone, decided to take a position against the Don't Say Gay bill that was moving through the Florida legislature. I won't comment about what I would have done or not done, but the company took that position against it. The governor decided, he got very, very angry at the company when it took that position and decided to punish the company by basically stripping it of, first he wanted to strip essentially the entity that manages the property that Disney World is on, and then he decided that was impractical, so he would just take out the board and put his own board in. We felt that was a direct result of the company having exercised its right to free speech, taking the position against the Don't Say Gay bill, and that punishing us for exercising our right to free speech was anti-American and anti-business.
Yeah, right, you must be kidding me. You have to be seriously out to lunch or, frankly, brain damage to think this level of bollocking will fly with anyone sane. I'll apply some nuance here. I don't give a damn about Disney's free speech. At all. I've said this before, I'm not a free speech absolutist. Such a concept to me is incoherent and insane. All speech is curtailed by something, either morals or circumstances or potential repercussions. The only place where you get true free speech absolutism is anonymously, because it's absent of the former variables that I just mentioned there. If your so-called free speech involves pushing for unholy levels of immorality that will damage the social fabric, no, your free speech should be curtailed. The one thing the state should do is defend the citizenry, and if you're attacking that at its core, you should face severe legal recourse. And I don't mean fine or prison, by the way. But let's see how he handles the diversification of Disney's crappy characters.
Part of what happened while you were gone from the company was a number of films that were greenlit that people were describing as woke, with, quote, woke characters, a fight with DeSantis. By the time you got back, and I don't know if people saw images of this, there was a morning outside of Disney World where there were folks literally with flags, swastika flags.
Oh my God. Okay, let's be real. This is the New York Times, so they know bugger all about journalism. Go look it up, and you'll see who were the flag wavers. It was Patriot Front. You know the idiots with the ski masks and the shades, the cargo trousers, who were clearly glowing Fed boys from a bloody mile off? Yeah, it was them. Ah, good God, the cringe.
And DeSantis flags. Anti-gay flags. And guns.
Yes.
As families are trying to walk into the park.
Yep.
I'm so curious what you think has happened and how you as a company are supposed to deal with that and what you feel like you can say and can't say given...
Given what, that they're feds?
This remarkably polarized climate we're in right now.
I'm sorry, but I'm just laughing at the idea of someone asking questions about political polarization with the New York Times logo behind them. That's like talking about a growing diabetes epidemic and the event is sponsored by Cadbury.
You're talking about our content itself or just positions the company takes on issues?
Both, meaning...
Meaning your politics is being shoved down the throat of the customer and they hate your products.
Do you fight with DeSantis? Do you create LGBT characters?
So complicated. Well, let me start with content and your comment about woke characters. Our primary objective in creating content as a company, say for ABC News, which is obviously to inform, but is to entertain. Whether it's sports, whether it's Disney, whether it's Marvel, make things that entertain people.
And failing that, make it so terrible so people on YouTube can whack it like a piñata and essentially loot the sinking ship. Which sounds more nefarious than it actually is, but considering the crew is the one setting the boat on fire, don't ask me to care about the boat going up in smoke.
And the good news is there's a marketplace out there that demands entertainment.
And yes, I'm currently making a video doing just that.
It's a fantastic business to be in because of that. I think what had happened over a period of time, it was building and building, and maybe it reached a peak of some sort while I was gone.
If it reached a peak in your absence, you're implying it's receding. Bob, again, who the hell do you think you're kidding here?
Is that creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be. Often when we entertain, and we've entertained as a company over the 100 years we've been in business, we have entertained with values and having a positive impact on the world in many different ways. I'd use Black Panther as a great example of that, just in terms of fostering acceptance.
That's funny. I seem to recall a whole load of black people telling white people not to go see the movie. It wasn't made for them. Even though the character was made by a Jew, which is hilarious on so many levels.
The movie Coco, which Pixar did about the Day of the Dead. I like being able to do that. Entertain, and if you can infuse it with positive messages and have a good impact on the world, fantastic. But that should not be the objective. When I came back, what I've really tried to do is to return to our roots, which is, remember, we have to entertain first. It's not about messages.
Then why is Disney warning the shareholders that that is your company's main objective, Bob?
If you can do, again, if your story can have a positive impact, so there's that.
Holy sweet Moses, this man can lie his ass off. But let's finish this up by listening to Bob's piss poor excuse for why the Marvel sucked ass.
Very recently, as you've seen, because you get the box office numbers every weekend, a number of these films have not performed. They have not performed the way they used to. People question the creative magic at Disney.
Or rather, lack thereof.
You can look at the Marvels. I'm curious why you think that disappointed. You could look at Wish, Indiana Jones. What do you think? What's happened?
Well, I think you have to look at it a couple of ways. First of all, I think the movie business is changing.
Yes, it's become an even more overtly insidious arm that pushes state propaganda.
Actually. Box office today is about 75% of what it was pre-COVID. I think we have conditioned the audience to expect that
you wish to propagandize them with crap messaging for a worldview and problem that reside only in the minds of psychotic globalists.
These films will be on streaming platforms relatively quickly, and that the experience of accessing them and watching them in the home is better than it ever was. One, easier to access in terms of the technology.
Okay, tell me the truth. Does anybody actually buy this stupid argument? It's bewildering to me that any CEO would cope so hard and say something this stupid. It's not the technology, dude. It doesn't matter how accessible the product is if the product is made of ours. It could be free. People still wouldn't watch the damn thing.
To just the visuals, better sets in your living room than before. And a bargain when you think about it. Streaming Disney Plus you can get for $7 a month. That's a lot cheaper than taking your whole family to a film. So I think the bar is now raised in terms of quality about what gets people out of their homes into movie theaters. Some of it is just being part of basically the social wave. Certainly Barbie and Oppenheimer did that.
Actually, Barbie was subverted, hence why the Ken thing took off and annoyed so many people who thought it was this pro-feminist film. So yes, the film made money, but it didn't sell the message they wanted. I'm not sure how Oppenheimer factors into this, aside from the memes, though.
For two other studios, and so I think that's one thing. Second, in our particular case, and specifically about those films, some of those films, they were not as good, they were not as high in quality, not every one that you mentioned, as some of their predecessors, our films, and as they should have been, particularly in this environment.
Why do you think that was?
Oh yes, do tell. I'm dying to hear what excuses you have to offer here.
Well, The Marvels was shot during COVID. There wasn't as much supervision on the set, so to speak, where we have executives there really looking over what's being done day after day after day. And that was a result of, mostly of COVID, but at the same time, we increased our output tremendously to feed the streaming platforms. Too much, by the way.
Mistake.
Definite mistake. You know, quality needs attention to deliver quality. Doesn't happen by accident. And quantity, in our case, diluted quality. And Marvel suffered greatly from that.
Oh, piss off. That is the dumbest excuse ever and can easily be debunked. First things first, notice the corporate speak vagueness, quantity over quality. In the context of production value, what does it even mean? I mean, the Marvel movie that just tanked, that was an excess of quantity, and who was asking for that? Oh yeah, no one. Secondly, pray tell, elaborate a little, would you kindly? What exactly was the, deteriorating lack of quality element in your excessive quantity phase that you wish to add back? What exactly was the magic ingredient that's been stripped? Because it sure as hell hasn't been added back yet. Between the Marvels and that corporate bollocks wish-flopping, Disney lost almost $500 million. I would say it's bleach, but I'm being kind of facetious. Somewhat. But in all seriousness, it's not the coof. It's not even diversity or the fact that it was a sequel either, actually. Case in point, Top Gun Maverick. That was shot during the coof, that had a diverse cast, and that was a sequel. 36 years past the original, and had the same lead. And in many ways, I think it was actually better than the original. It was the best film of 2022 in my eyes. Hell, it was the best film I've seen in years, actually. And yes, I will be doing another video on this topic, so cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.